Well, hi folks, this is Darren and
Dakota.
with My RV Works. We're out here in Forks today. It's sunny right now, but it would not surprise me if it starts to rain. It's been raining all day. We're here to work on a furnace, and what I want to do is I'm going to be training Dakota. Now, if you've seen our videos from the past several years, you might remember Dakota when he was about this big. So something's happened between then and now. He's taller than me. You're taller than me, you freak. I look up to you.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. Okay. So I'm training Dakota on what to look for when you're diagnosing a furnace in the hopes that it might be something that you benefit from on your furnace. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring the camera and my lavalier closer to this furnace. We're going to start it up and we're going to go through the talking points and the diagnosis points so that Dakota here can learn how to diagnose a furnace. And through Dakota, you can too. Okay, so let's bring everybody closer. We'll listen for some things and we'll see if we can't figure out what's wrong with this furnace and then get it fixed. Sound like a plan?
Yeah.
All right, so let's bring you closer. Okay, so we've got Dakota here, and I'm gonna go turn the furnace on, and he's got the lavalier, and I want him to hold it right in this area. And what I want from you guys is also, when someone turns your furnace on, I need you to hear and smell right in this area. And so hold it about right there. I'll go turn the furnace on, and let's listen to see what it's doing. All right, I'm back. And what's going to happen is the furnace is going to turn itself off and it's not going to ignite. All right. Should have started by now. Okay, so now let's do a talking point and explain what just happened. Okay. Okay, so hopefully you got the benefit of hearing that process of the fan trying to start, or the furnace starting and the fan blowing, but no ignition. So if that's all you knew, what do you think might be causing that? And then before you answer, I'm going to quiz you as to why you think that. What do you think?
Cell switch.
Okay, he says, ladies and gentlemen, he said cell switch. Survey said, why do you say cell switch?
Because it didn't click. So the blower didn't it didn't click the thing to make it work.
Is this RV Tech terminology?
No.
Okay. So he says cell switch. Okay. So let's do a talking point and explain why you might be correct and why you might be incorrect. Could it be anything else?
Probably.
What are your thoughts at this point?
I don't know.
Okay. So I'll do a talking point here for the benefit of everybody. I want to put this behind me because I need my hands. So your answer, Dakota, was the bell curve answer of any time a furnace has failed. Oh, it's a cell switch. It's a cell switch. It's a cell switch. Anybody? It's a cell switch. So let's talk about why it may or may not be that. Okay. And through this process, learn a little bit more about how you can listen to your furnace when you start it up. And you can tell an awful lot just within 2 minutes, 30 seconds, really, of what's going on. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to do a talking point. The furnace has a control board. The control board is basically dumb and blind. Okay, all it knows, it's very, very good at receiving a 12-volt signal, and it's very, very good at sending out a 12-volt signal. It's a brilliant in that regard. That's what it was designed for. Like God created us. All right. So man created this control board to receive 12-volt signals and to send out 12-volt signals. Other than that, it's dumb and it's blind. So the control board has control of a gas valve and a book of matches. Okay, so if the control board has control of a gas valve where it can introduce LP gas into a chamber and start throwing matches into it, yeah, let's kind of control that a little bit. So one of the 12-volt signals it's going to receive that it's okay to light matches. Okay, now how does this control board determine that it's okay to start lighting matches? Obviously, what we just experienced right here is it did not get the okay that it's okay to start lighting matches. It did not even get an okay that it's good enough to open up the gas valve, which is a click you hear. So when there's a call for heat from the thermostat, and this is the sequence of events that you're going to go through when you're troubleshooting your furnace. When there's a call for heat from a thermostat, I'm skipping out a couple things, making sure there's 12 volts, but in a healthy, it's not healthy, but in a normal type of a furnace environment, one of the, let me just start, I got to figure out where to start my story. See, I'm like finding the gear. Okay, so we're going to get a call for heat. We're going to start our story with a call for heat, assuming that the furnace has the correct amount of 12 volts power, because it could also be that there's not enough power, but we'll get into that in our story. Okay, squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. So anyway, there's a call for heat. So when this DSI board, which is an excellent at receiving 12 volt signals, the first thing that this furnace control board is going to do is when it gets a call for heat, the very first thing it's going to do is ask the question, do I have voltage coming in from my sail switch? Okay. If I have voltage coming in from my sail switch, that tells me, the control board, that I have a sail switch stuck in the closed position. Now let's just pause for a second. Let's talk about sail switches. What do you know about sail switches?
That they click.
Okay. So some engineer somewhere in some wind tunnel in some cubicle somewhere figured out the exact way for this DSI board to detect CFMs, cubic feet per minute, a volume of air through a heat exchanger, okay? And some wind tunnel engineer figured out that it needs to have so many CFMs, and so therefore what they've designed on this thing is a micro switch with a long arm lever, okay? That's called a sail switch, like a sail on a sailboat. It's going to catch wind, okay? And so when that blower is turning, it's blowing air, and this sail switch, which some engineer somewhere in some cubicle, some wind tunnel figured out that, oh, okay, well, if the wind velocity is correct, then my sail switch will blow up and the micro switch will be made. So if you ever look at a sail switch, it's a micro switch with a long arm sticking out on it. That long arm is a sail, or we could call it a proof switch. The control board needs proof that there's a correct amount of air. On the sail switch note, if we were going to boondock, we're going to one of our trail life events, and we're going to stay in a Walmart parking lot the night before, and we're in our truck camper, and we're running off a battery, and the furnace is happy, and we're happy, we're sleeping well, and all of a sudden the battery starts to drain down more and more and more. The battery's getting more depleted, and now my motor in my furnace is not able to keep the same amount of RPM running because the battery's dead. Then that sail switch would not be able to be made because the motor's not blowing fast enough. Therefore, it's a proof switch. It needs to prove that there's enough airflow. Okay, so the sail switch has a lot going on with it. So if there's a call for heat, if the DSI board gets a 12 volt signal from the sail switch, now this is before the blower motor starts, then the blower motor will not start at all. You can try to have your furnace do a call for heat, and as long as you've proven that there's 12 volts feeding your motor and all this, feeding your furnace, as long as you've proven there's 12 volts feeding your DSI board, you can call for heat all day long, and if there is no fan starting, more than likely that is an indication that your sail switch is stuck in the closed position. So it's proving to the DSI board that there's airflow, even though there is no airflow. So step one, call for heat. The first thing the DSI board is going to do is I have 12 volts coming to me through the sail switch circuit. It better not. Okay, it better not have 12 volts coming to it from the sail switch, because a sail switch should be in an open state, hanging down, like a sail that's not catching any wind. So if that's the first thing, could that be our problem? No, because the motor started. The fact that the motor started tells us that we've made it through the first test of, is my sail switch stuck closed? The fact that the motor started tells me that my sail switch is not stuck closed. So therefore it's open. Therefore, the next thing the control board's going to do is it's going to start the blower motor. Okay? So now I'm going to start my blower motor, and which is what we've had happen here. The blower motor started. The blower motor started because the DSI board did not get 12 volts coming in from the sail switch circuit. Okay? That's why the blower motor started. That will run, it's going to count to about 15 to 20 seconds, because it needs to see that sail switch close, because now that the blower motor, now that I have wind, the sail switch better close, or else the engineers in the wind tunnel did something wrong, right? So the sail switch should close. Now the DSI board is going to get the 12 volt signal from that sail switch circuit. Okay, so now when the DSI board gets a signal from the 12 volt circuit, remember, the first thing I look for is the sail switch stuck closed. No. Okay. Second thing, start my blower motor. Third thing, let me see the change of state in my sail switch from not open, or to open to closed, because now the wind's blowing it. Makes sense? It's going to do two things. One, it's going to be looking for that change of state of the sail switch, because now we have blowing mode, we have wind. But the second thing it's going to be doing is it's going to be counting to 1 Dakota, 2 Dakota, 3 Dakota. It's going to go to about 18 Dakotas, okay? And it's just pre-purging. It's making sure that it can blow. It's kind of making sure everything's happy. A pre-purge. It's purging itself. And making sure that it's got a nice, good airflow before it opens the gas valve. After this DSI board has detected that the sail switch has closed and the motor has run for 18 seconds, at that point, and if everybody's happy, the DSI board is satisfied, I've counted to 18 Dakotas, my sail switch is closed, at that point I will open my gas valve, which is a click that we hear, and I will start throwing matches in my gas. Okay, so therefore the sail switch is a proof switch. Did we hear a click?
No.
We did not hear a click. Therefore, me, the blind DSI board, I'm thinking I never saw the wind. Now, you human, us, we hear the blower start, but the DSI board was not able to prove that there's airflow. Therefore, we're not going to open the gas valve. While we're on that, it could be, let's talk, okay, so that's the most obvious answer. So you are correct. I am of the opinion that it's probably the sail switch. And it's probably going to be like some dander or dirt or something in this lever. They put these things, a lot of different versions. That's why it's not enough to know your model number, because the serial number changes a lot. It might be the exact same model number, but the serial number changes on Suburbans. Now this one's a Suburban. Okay, this is a Suburban furnace. And so the first 2 digits of your serial number tell you the year that it was made. And then the next 2 sets is the week it was made. So the first 4 numbers of your serial number, year and week. Okay, but it might be a Suburban SF35. I don't know. I haven't pulled it out yet. But let's just say it's a Suburban SF35. Well, great. They've been making SF35s for dozens of years. But they changed parts on them. Where some of these before 2000 had a time delay relay on them. Some of them, they have different sail switches. Some of them have the sail switch in the blower housing cover. Some of them, they move it out. But it's still an SF35. But the serial number is what tells you. So you need to know your model number and your serial number when you go to the parts counter to order parts, okay? Because the part might change. Now, having said that, let's talk about a few more things since we're on the talking point before we roll up our sleeves and get busy here. It could be a couple more things. So everybody knee-jerk reaction is it's a sail switch. But the sail switch is part of a series circuit. That means there's something else with it. So I need to prove that my sail switch is happy, but it's like links in a chain. I'll just stay with links in a chain. I think it's going to start raining on us. You're afraid of getting wet? No. All right, Trailman, cool. So there's another circuit that is in series with the sail switch circuit. Okay, so we have the sail switch, but either, depending on manufacturer, either before the sail switch or after the sail switch, you have a high temperature switch. The furnace doesn't want to get too hot. If the furnace gets too hot because a dog's laying on the register, a big pile of clothes, like your sister in her bedroom putting all the clothes. Yeah. We're wondering why the house is not regulating temperature, and I go into Madison's room and there's like all her registers are blocked up. I'm like, stop it. You know, the furnace needs to breathe. So same thing in your furnace. If you have done anything to restrict your airflow of your ductwork, put like little screens down to keep debris from falling inside, or the dog laying on it, or the dog bed, or rugs, or anything over the registers in your floor or on your side, and that furnace can't shed its heat, more than likely it's gonna trip itself off on the inside of the furnace itself. The furnace itself has a safety built in on it, which is a high temperature switch, and if that furnace gets too hot, it will, like a toaster, pop. Okay, and that is in series with the sail switch. So you're gonna have a sail switch and high temperature switch. Then they come to the DSI board. So it could be a high temperature switch. Normally the symptoms you would see from the high temperature switch, typically, unless it's just flat out stuck in the open position, which is extremely rare. Normally these things, they're pretty robust, but I have probably seen, I've got a video of a furnace that the sail switch was stuck in the, not the sail switch, the high temperature switch had failed and the furnace wouldn't start. Acts just like a sail switch. But the sail switch and the high temperature switch they go through both devices before it comes back to the DSI board, so it could be one or the other. Another thing it could be is the control board itself, the DSI board. Maybe the cell switch is sending 12 volts to it, but the DSI board has failed and it's not receiving that, okay? It also could be on some of your DSI boards, you have that white connector that plugs in. I have seen, I might have a video of it, maybe not, I have seen where all the wires are going to have like a black, a red, a blue, and a white, or sometimes two blues, depending on your serial number, that go into this white connector. I've seen where the little pins that touch the little edge of your DSI board, where those pins were corroded, or the pins were kind of pulled back a little bit, and it wasn't making good contact in that white connector. So it could be any of these things: the DSI board, the sales switch, a high temperature switch, a wiring fault where it connects. We did one not too long ago where they had the T-tap connectors where the wire was plugged in. Like, here's your main wire, and they put one of those little T-taps around it and you plug into it. And the T-tap connector had failed. And it was an intermittent problem there. So you're looking for wiring problems, but so hopefully from why I'm rambling on like this is to try to give you guys some benefit and for Dakota to learn a little bit more about diagnosing all the things that could be. Now that we've said all that, I think it's a cell switch. Now, move right over here for a second. That's good. Now, some manufacturers will give you an access cover here, but this manufacturer of this RV did not. Therefore, in order to figure out if it's a cell switch or not, the only thing we can do is pull the furnace out through the kitchen, through underneath this countertop, and when I do that, you could either leave this exhaust port in or take the exhaust port out. Personally, my preference is to take the exhaust port out. Otherwise, you're fighting to try to get everything realigned again. So the love-hate that I have with pulling furnaces out is when they give you an access door right here, it's easy to get to, but when they don't, it gives me an opportunity to take the whole furnace out, get it in my hands, and kind of do a little bit more digging and diagnosing, and kind of like a mini annual service on the thing when I pull the whole furnace out. So I think that's enough talking points, but believe me, if I think of something else, I'll mention it. Do you have any questions of me, sir?
No.
No? So earlier you said cell switch. Now explain to me why you think it's cell switch. Say something to me like, because we never heard the gas valve open. Something like that. Make me think.
Because we never figured, or wait,
yeah, we never heard the gas valve?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. That.
And so the fact that we never heard the gas valve click would indicate what?
That the blower is, like, the little lever thing is stuck.
That the lever thing is stuck. Okay. Spoken like a true mini RV tech.
Yeah.
Okay. So the fact that we never heard the click. Now, another thing you can detect is maybe you can smell LP gas coming out of your opening here. If you smell the LP gas but you have no ignition, now you're looking at an electrode problem, which also could be the DSI board not able to detect that 4 microamps coming back to it. It could be the gap, it could be the flame spreader. So we've got videos on those as well, and we'll make links above and down in the description for other videos that we've done on that. Now, I can tell you right now it's a Suburban. I don't know what model it is. I'm assuming probably SF35 because that's a very popular one. But so what we're going to do, okay, now we're going to get busy. We're going to take this exhaust port off. We're going to go inside. We're going to take this screen off. I'm not going to bring the camera inside the RV. I don't want everybody to see personal effects and things like that. So we're going to keep it outside in the rain. And but what you're going to need to do to take your furnace out, you're going to have to, when you have to pull them out, turn off the gas valve, turn off the gas to the RV, crack open the LP line. And I always put like a little plug in there. Not that I'm cinching it down, but I just don't want any debris to get inside of the gas line. And then another thing I do is I have a little plastic little cap that I put over the inlet LP fitting on the furnace. Again, I don't want any debris to get inside of those things. So I'm going to just take a little brass fitting and cap off the line that feeds the furnace, and then a little plastic plug to plug the inlet on the furnace. So there's your gas line. The next thing is your wiring. You're going to have 4 wires feeding the furnace, a positive, a negative, and then what I call the blue circuit. Depending on your thermostat, you might have one blue wire that's folded back on itself and cut off. That would be your Coleman style thermostats, because I won't get into all that. Ask me in the comments why Dometic and Coleman have different wiring schemes, and maybe we could do a video on that. But at this point, we're going to take this exhaust port off. We're going to turn off our gas, crack open our gas, cut our wires, okay? And then Your mileage may vary how the manufacturers secure the furnace to the floor. But typically on a Suburban, you take the back panel off. You'll find 2 screws right there. Your ductwork, if it's ducted, you turn those, just look for a little notch, you'll turn the duct and the duct will come off with a little collar on it and everything. If it's floor mounted, be very careful because you're going to have like a little gasket down there. I stock new gaskets. If you're going to buy any parts, I'll tell you what, down in the description below, I'll give you the part number for that gasket that you might need. And so we'll have more information down on the details. So with that, let's get busy. I've done my talking point. Now we're going to see if it was in fact the furnace, the cell switch. So the next time you see this furnace, it's going to be out of the RV. All right, let's do that. All right. Okay, we're going to, it not only did it start raining, but it started to hail. So you'll see on the ground, it's little ice crystals. So we've taken the 6 screws off. So Dakota, we're going to take the razor blade and cut around that butyl, and Dakota's going to take this cover off. Now when we do that, you're going to find a little black insert, okay, and maybe the top little flange. So just work that. Now we get these little plastic chisels. I like them. Harbor Freight's got them. We've got them on our Amazon affiliate store. They're not going to hurt the finish of the RV. So I really am a benefit of these plastic chisels. And here, I'll take that. And then get a little plastic piece. Yep, all those parts. And so now we've got now when we take the furnace off, it's going to be really easy to do. Okay, so now we're going to go to the inside. Okay, so now we're inside and Dakota is working on getting the furnace out. I'm going to just give a little pan down. Now, when I see a lot of that dust there, that's going to tell me, again, that it very well could be the cell switch. So we have that little bitty hole to get this whole furnace out. Now, those ducts on the right, where the silver thing, you turn those, I don't know, a quarter turn or something like that. And I'll tell you what, Dakota, see those big 4 screws? Take these big 4 screws out, then take this whole panel loose. See them? Yeah. That might be better. So we're taking the whole big panel off. That'll give us more access. Okay, so that was the key. We're going to take the whole panel off, which it looks like we needed to do. So with those ducts that are coming out the top and the back side, you just rotate them a little bit and the collar will come off. Now, with as dirty as that is, I'm going to say it more than likely will be the cell switch, because all that dirt, here, shine over here, right into, see how the dirt going into the inlet, the furnace is sucking all that in as well. So the manufacturer will state it is incorrect to put any kind of filter to prevent the furnace from seeing that, because they want to maximize their CFM going into and out of the furnace. And so even though it might make sense to put a filter in place upstream of that, that would be against the manufacturer's recommendation for that. So now we're going to, here, just grab the one on top, Dakota, while I'm filming, and just rotate it. You'll see how it turns. And there's a little notch, you know, just kind of see if you can find where the notch is. Sometimes you can study it a little bit. Well, that's one way to do it. Okay, and then rotate that. And if it's not rotating, okay. When we get it off, we'll show you what we're talking about. So, and now what we did was fine too, because there's a big hose clamp that clamps those on, and that's not a big deal. We'll just clean that up and put it back on there and tighten the hose clamp again. So, all right, we're going to take the rest of these off, and then down at the bottom down there, here, shine your light down towards the bottom. There on this furnace, those 2 little tabs are going to be the screws that mount it to the floor. Now on some of you, you're going to be coming to the backside here, and the backside you'll have to take that cover off, and you'll find screws through that backside. So your mileage may vary, and so while he's working on getting the ductwork off, I'm going to go turn off the LP line, and we're going to cap off the LP line, and then we'll work on our wiring as well. All right. Okay, so folks, we've turned off the LP. We're going to bleed it out. So he's going to put that on high. Put your knob on high and try to get it to light. There we go. Okay. And then what we're going to do is you're going to see that blue flame just kind of bleed out, and that'll tell us that the LP is out of the system, out of the line, and we don't have to open up a, here, turn a fan on this cover. Right here. That one. No? Okay. So what we're doing is we're bleeding off all the head pressure from the LP, and very soon that will basically just go out. And now we can safely work on our furnace by taking off the gas line. Any day. So Dakota, what this tells us is there's a lot of head pressure on LP. So even though you have a flame here, I know I've got the LP turned off. I better. But there's a lot of head pressure, is my point.
Are you sure?
Well, maybe I turned them on. I turned the knobs all the way to an end.
Oh, you might have turned it on.
Yeah, so let me go see if, well, hey, it went out, yay. So another thing, folks, this is another test to make sure you turn the knobs in the correct direction. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. I just turned them until they stopped. I didn't even pay attention to which way I was going. So that's a good test to make sure that your LP is off. So let's go fix ourselves. Okay, so we verified that that Darren did it right, that they were closed. And so we're just going to bleed this out. So what I'm going to go do is I'm going to go grab some wrenches while this is bleeding. Oh, okay. Keep that going. I'm going to go grab the wrenches that we need to take the LP off. But that, I keep seeing it flutter. Anyway, it'll eventually bleed out. I'm going to go get the wrenches. Oh, it's getting smaller. It is. Oh, here it goes, here it goes. Yes. Okay. So now we have bled out all the propane from the system. Now we can safely crack the gas line on the furnace. And a best practice right now is to, when that is done, to turn off. Go ahead and turn that off. Don't do like Darren and then go turn the gas on and think you have a gas leak on your furnace and realize that you left the stove on. Don't do that. So we've turned that off. We're good. I'm gonna get some wrenches and we'll take the gas line apart on the front. Okay, so Dakota's got the wrenches and he's gonna get in there and he's looking for the 2 wrenches that are needed to open up the gas valve. Now that we've bled it out. So what Dakota's got here, we've got the gas line off. That's just your typical kind of a cap and plug. So basically we don't want any debris to get in. So you just do them finger tight. And yep, just kind of, you don't want any of the dirt or crap to get in there. So you just put those on the ends. I've even used painter's tape in a pinch. You just want to keep those gas lines clean. All right, so our gas line's done. Now we're going to get some wires done. And if you look in there, you'll see those connectors. We're going to take the connectors off. I usually leave the connectors with the RV and leave bare wires with the furnace that are in there, because the red one is going to have 12 volts hot on it. So we're going to pop the wiring off, and now you might have different type of connectors. And after we get the wiring off, we'll come down here and take these screws off, maybe in the back as well, and we'll be able to pull the whole furnace. Okay, so we've got our wires loose, and in there, he's taking the screws off, and I don't know if there's any in the back, but we'll find out. So anyway, we're getting the screws out to get the furnace. Okay, we got the screws out. We'll pull on the furnace. Okay, we got the furnace free. All our wires are loose, our gas line's loose. We're gonna pull the whole furnace out. And now we'll bring it to the service trailer. Pardon Dakota's back. Okay, good job. So we got the furnace out of that hole. And now we'll bring the whole thing to the service trailer to figure it out. All right, we got the furnace here on the bench in our service trailer. It is an SF30 FQ. FQ means no door. And then let's find the serial number here. Okay, there's our serial number. So this particular furnace was came out in 2015, in the 31st week of 2015. The rest of these numbers have to do with the series and all this kind of stuff. But on a Suburban, your first 2 digits are the year of manufacture. So even though they're going to have a whole bunch of SF30s, the serial number is going to tell you. Now our cell switch, if you look right here, the wiring going in right there, let me get under there. There's the end of your cell switch. So I think we called it correctly. And when we look at the dust, they live on a dirt road with a lot of dust on a farm environment. And so this furnace has been breathing in all this dust, and that cell switch has faulted out. So like I was saying earlier, having to pull the furnace is kind of a love-hate. It is an extra step. It's an extra task that we charge for to pull the furnace out compared to just accessing it from the front. In order to diagnose this thing, we kind of need to pull the whole furnace out. So in a shop, they'll typically charge an additional fee to do what's called a furnace R&R, remove and reinstall. So we'll have to do that here as well. if the manufacturer had given us an access cover, then there would be no need to do a furnace R&R. There would be no need for that additional fee, just to get it to this point where we can work on it. Because this whole front side right here is a part that's abutted against the wall. Here's our exhaust port that we took out earlier. So for us to do any work on this furnace, the control board's there, your sail switch, your gas valve, everything is here on the front, and it's up against the inside wall. So in order to work on this thing, it isn't necessary to pull the furnace out, and like I said, there's an additional charge to do that. So don't be surprised if you take your furnace in and they do a furnace R&R. Now, I would question if you have an access door, if you take your furnace in for service and they charge a furnace R&R and there's an access port cover right here, I might challenge that, because that's not necessary to do a furnace R&R if you have access to the outside of it. But when you can't and all they give you is an exhaust port, yeah, you need to pull the furnace, so that's legit. So the first thing we're going to do is going to take this outside, get our compressor going, and just kind of blow this thing off really good with compressed air so we can start working on it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to separate the furnace from its carcass, from its enclosure. And so we're going to take the back off. Now, some of you are going to have a screw right there that's holding it to the carcass. Sometimes the screw is in the front, sometimes it's in the back, sometimes it's both in front and back. Your newer models are going to have screws all the way around all this, okay? But on this one, we're lucky, it's just that one screw is holding this in. Now, if you grab, now your telltale sign is you can tell the slot right here, that tells you this thing's going to pull out. So if you start yanking, that thing's going to pull out. Now, sometimes, here, I'm going to turn the camera off, but you see what we're doing, folks? Sometimes it does get caught on those, on these things right in here. Sometimes it'll get caught on that. So one screw, we're going to pull this apart, and then that'll give us access to the whole furnace. We found a hidden screw, but anyway, we got it out. And so there is the carcass we stuck out there. We're going to bring all this back out for the compressor to blow off the rest of this. Again, our sail switch, you could see all this right here. This is your sail switch. So there was your problem, and I'm pretty sure once we get the sail switch out, it's even going to be worse right in there. So that follows along with the furnace blower motor starting, so the thing's stuck in the open position. So the furnace is like, okay, you're not stuck closed, therefore I'm so dumb, I know what to do. I do what I do very, very well. So I'm going to start the blower motor. But with all this crap built up in there, it never was able to close and get that micro switch to close. If I have a new sail switch, which I'm 99% sure I do, we're going to put a brand new sail switch in. But sometimes it's enough just to clean it out with some of this office air stuff. You know, what does that say? Electronic duster. I might even hit it with some lubricant, like what I've been using lately is this old can of 226. It says it's good enough for electrical parts cleaner, but there's another one called, oh shoot, I can't remember the name of it. Sorry, I'll put a link in the description below because my memory is fading. So now we're going to dust this off, and then we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 screws off, and maybe these little triangle screws here to take this whole cover off to gain access to our sail switch. Okay, we're on the final screw. Okay, all of our wires are still connected, so here, pop this off. Right here, take that. Yep, slowly take that off and flip it around, and we'll get a view of our sail switch here. Okay, so there she be. So yeah, you could see there's your little plunger, so when the sail switch is made, you hear it clicking? So the sail switch may be fine, but you saw this crap that was in there. It gets wedged up in this part, so it can't actually close and can't actually plunge. There's still a little bit of it right there. So there's a sail switch tucked inside that cover. And so we will basically take these two, unconnect these off. I usually grab a pair of needle nose pliers and grab the, don't grab the wire, but grab the connector to pull them free, and then we'll replace that. We got that free. So we'll take that out. Sometimes that's a number 1. Now, when Dakota was, here, number 1. Okay, now when Dakota was taking these screws off the panel, 1, 2, 3, 4, some of your newer furnaces are going to not have screws, they're going to have clips. And if you're using the clip kind, try as I may, I've never been able to get those clips off without breaking them. And oftentimes the if you buy a new cell switch or something like that, they send them with screws. These screws right here, these kind of screws, they're kind of these funky looking screws. If I figure out what those screws are, again, down in the description, I'll give you a link on getting those screws. But typically, even if you have clips, you still will have these little ears here where your screw fits in it. And here you'll have ears. Even if you have the clips, typically you have the ears. So we're going to take this out to the compressor again, blow it out really well, do a good cleaning, and replace that cell switch. And then we'll do a bench test here to make sure it works. And what it was not doing, here, let's see that cell switch. Hold that up. So remember how I was saying it's got that long arm? So like I said, some engineer in some wind tunnel somewhere figured out how long and how skinny to make that thing. Here you go. And so we're just going to replace that, and we're going to clean it up. So Dakota's taking a toothbrush to kind of brush off all the fins inside. See a little pile of dirt down below. So that's always a good practice, just to get all that crap out of there. And now you see why it's a good idea to put like a little rubber cap, because all this dust that's blowing around could have easily gotten in there and fouled out our gas line, a gas valve. Okay, when you get these furnaces out, this is the top side. For today, there's no reason to go in here, but it's always good to do a visual right in this corner right here. This is where I've seen most of the cracks. You got the flame spreading right here, it makes this turn. This gets to be very, very hot right here. This side's fine, but when you're looking at your furnaces, I want you to look to see if there's any kind of a crack or a fissure right here. It's one of the hottest spots of the furnace. This whole kidney bean look, mitochondria looking thing is the heat exchanger. And it's got the it's two-story, if you will. This is where the top and the bottom join. If some of you have a mud dauber issue and there's a mud dauber nest inside, get your furnace to this point, take these screws out here to separate the front half from the back half, and then soak this in a big shop, take all this apart. So basically all you have is this mitochondria looking thing. Soak it in a thing of water overnight and let it soften up, and then take your air compressor like we've got here and blow it out, and that'll clean out all your mud dauber nests. We've had to do that a lot in Texas. So earlier we had talked about how the cell switch and the high temperature switch were part of an AND circuit. Okay, so if we were to start backwards, this red wire, okay, so I had said that sometimes I've seen these, like here we have blue, red, blue, brown, and yellow. I have seen where if we were to unplug this with my other hand, maybe. Hold on. So if you look inside of there, you'll see these little metal pins. And now these look really good, but you look at, what color is that? Brown. Brown could maybe go for, brown's fine. Brown's fine. And, but I have seen where these connectors, these wires are not seated all the way into these pins right here. And you could take a pencil eraser. They're going to be connected on the back side of this edge. You could take a pencil eraser and just clean that up really good. And then don't blow on it with your breath, because that would be like silly. Dielectric grease if you were to choose to, or just leave it dry. I'm going to plug it back in. Okay, so I have seen where some of these connectors, the pins are not making good seat on the edge. But we're going to follow this red wire here. So let's just, okay, here's ground. The yellow is ground. Brown is going to open up my gas valve. Blue is telling me there's a call for heat. And then this red wire is one we're going to follow. So if we follow this red wire around, guess where he's going to go? He's going to go over here to our cell switch that we took out. And then what's the other wire from the cell switch? The other wire from the cell switch is black, and black is going to come, part of the series, to this high temperature switch. Now on your high temperature switch, I'm tangled up in the hose. On that high temperature switch, this one has a green dot, but they have blue dots, red dots, purple dots, orange dots. I've got all the numbers that we can make available to you. But the dot, yes, it's a colored ink dot. That's going to tell you the temperature range of this switch. So we left the DSI board on red. We went through the cell switch. We came out of the cell switch on black. We're leaving black, going through this toaster, coming back on white. White, let's see if we can find where white goes. Where's white? Okay, I know where white's gonna be on the bottom. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Here, there's to the high temperature switch. White is gonna be piggybacked off of, well, we're falling. There we go. White is going to be piggybacked off of this blue, which basically is coming back from a call for heat. Okay, so of our 2 blue wires here, one of them is going to leave the furnace at 12 volts, go to the thermostat. Many different ways of getting its signal. It could come from the box up in your ceiling plenum, from the thermostat itself, from a dedicated wall thermostat, from just people connecting these 2 wires together. But anyway, it's going to be coming back on blue. And when it comes back on blue, here we're going to piggyback in this blue connector. We've got the white wire going to the high temperature switch, but we've got this blue wire piggybacked off of this, and that's the blue one that goes onto our edge connector right there. That tells the DSI board, hey, I've got a call for heat. Like we talked about earlier, look for the state of my cell switch. And, well, no, we're not going to look for our state of the cell switch. Basically, he's going to look for the state of the cell switch, and it better not be a 12-volt signal. So, the DSI board gets a call for heat signal on the blue right here. The piggyback, he's going to go on white through our high temperature switch, coming back on black. Black then goes, everything's upside down. Black is going to go through our cell switch, come back on red. You see how it's changing colors? And red is the one on the DSI board where he looks for the 12-volt signal, if that makes sense. Okay, we're going to reassemble. Okay, so we've got a new cell switch. Here's the old one. Okay, in an absolute pinch, you can kind of clean that one up, but we're going to put a brand new cell switch on, which we have in stock. We'll make links below to cell switches. So again, navigate down below this description. We're going to have a whole bunch more information for you with links. And then we'll have some other playlists flying over just to help you guys out. We're going to create a whole new playlist series just for suburban furnaces, another one just for the Atwood Dometic furnaces, just to kind of help create some of that. So Dakota's putting the new cell switch on right there, and then we're going to put the cover on. Now, polarity does not matter on these connections. So where he reconnects the wires, it doesn't really matter. It's a switch. It doesn't matter which side gets the polarity. So he's reconnecting. I mean, if you have a good memory, you can remember it. But as far as the switch is concerned, as far as the DSI board is concerned, which wire goes on which pin, it does not matter one way or the other. It doesn't really care. So he's putting that back together. And then we're going to put our cover back on. And a best practice is just to hit it with your finger to make sure it's going to not rub on the blower housing itself. We've got a fan club over here, Dakota. You hear him cheering you on? Okay, now take your finger and just make sure it's, yep, that sounds nice and healthy. Good, okay. And then you're gonna fight to get it on there. Yeah. And then you'll put your screws back on, and next time you see this thing, we'll have all of our screws on. All right, so Dakota is stuffing the wires inside the blower housing. Now here's your on your carcass, you got a slot right here. That's gonna match up with that gas valve. So if you get disoriented, look for that little tab. And you want to make sure your wires don't get pinched when you're putting it inside I'm dying over here on these sugar bushes. There we go, nice and seated. Now grab your screw. We can bring it back on the bench. We'll put our screw back in. So we got it back in. We're going to align those 2 screw holes. Here, take a pick sometimes. And just kind of help align it. Yep, that's drew blood. The furnace has drawn blood on me. See that? That's going to start bleeding in a minute. I caught this corner right there, so it's going to start bleeding. Okay. Leave a little bit of DNA on the job. Beautiful. Okay. And then he's got his cover. Where is that cover? Oh, there's a cover. Okay. And we're going to put our cover back on. Now, one of these is going to have a notch on your cover. If you get confused, see that little semicircle thing right there? That's going to match up with the gas valve. There's also a notch here on the bottom to clear that screw sometimes. So we showed how to get the furnace carcass out to get to the, it just makes it easier. And we were going to do a cleaning on it anyway. And you want a square bit for that? Did you already get this primary? Oh.
That's fine.
And, okay, well, you don't need to watch this part. We are going to now do a little bench test on it to make sure it's going to work for us. Okay, so we've got the furnace out of the shop. Dakota, no. Turn that back off. Turn it off. Yep, okay. So we're going to connect this to the furnace. We're basically going to do a bench test. So he's going to connect that. I just want to make sure it's going to work out here before we put it back in that hole. Okay, so we're going to take our backup wrenches and we're going to tighten that up really good. Now, what I've got here is this is my known good test regulator and cylinder. What I've got on this one is a tool that we make. It's this little piece off of it. So again, description below, shameless plug, we'll make a link, but I make a bunch of taps for the LP to check pressure in the LP system and flow in the LP system. So that's a known good, I know I'm at 11 inches of water column. So Dakota's pulled his wires out. We're going to, I'll take that, you're gonna need that, opened up the test lead set. Here's another tool that we make, which is a test lead set, which is everything the RV technician needs. So grab your big, long test leads, and then you're going to need both of these reds and both of these blacks in that bin pocket. And the benefit of the test lead set is it's stacking banana plugs. And so because they're stacking banana plugs, you can connect male or female or plug them into each other and just do all kinds of daisy-chainy stuff with this. And then whatever ends you need, you can create and accessorize like a Barbie's Playhouse. So red to red, black to black. Okay. And then once you get those connected, we are going to take a red and a black and connect one red to this one and a black to the yellow. Okay, so red and black are going to go here. These are our plus and minus. Red and black. Here, put on the wire, silly. There we go. Black to that. Okay, the other end is going to come down here to this battery, plus and minus. Red to plus, black to minus. You can grab the stud, tangled. There you go. Okay. So now we've given our furnace 12 volts. Now one of these blue wires is 12 volts hot. So we're going to take that little connector right there. And as soon as, now one of them is going to be hot. It's the one without the white stripe. It'll be 12 volts hot. So connect those together. You then will become the thermostat and this furnace should start. And we're going to open up our gas valve. I'm going to move this out of the way. All right, that's going to start our furnace because it's a call for heat. And make sure your gas valve's open down here. Now, last time we did this, we did not hear a click. So, if our sail switch is happy, should hear a click. I'm not hearing a click. All right, so we're going to continue to troubleshoot. So what we're going to do to troubleshoot is we need to make sure we're going to get our meter and we're going to probe deep inside. We need to see if there's power on the red wire. We can get to it here as well, but I need to make sure that I've got power on this red wire right here. This is the one that I told you the DSI board is great at what it does, but it's kind of dumb and we need to give it signals. It's great at reading and sending out 12 volts. So we need to verify that it's getting the 12 volts right here. So we're going to get our meter and troubleshoot that. That's why I wanted to bench test this before I put it back in, because had we put it back in, there's a chance it would have done exactly what it's doing right now. So there still may be an issue with this DSI board, but let's find out. So what we need to prove is that there's voltage on our circuit coming back from the sail switch, which is what we started our whole talk about. So Dakota's getting the meter ready. We're going to go in 12 volts DC, and he's putting a alligator clip on one. That one doesn't have threads. And you're just going to grab the cage. Anywhere on the cage is anything on this is going to be ground. And then when we start the furnace, you can either go of one of two places. You can either come in here on the red wire on the sail switch. Another thing you can do is we can tap into the wire, or you can try your best. Let me come around that side. You could try your best to get it into the connector that's got the red wire feeding it. So he's in there trying to get into that red wire where the red wire goes. We're needing to see if that control board is seeing the 12 volt signal. Okay. And that's the benefit of the test lead set. Another thing I've got is these things right here. and Dakota, if you want to use this one, you can. We could just kind of grab that circuit anywhere in the middle, and it'll read the 12 volts through it. Okay, so just, we need a different lead for that. Let me help them get set up, folks, and then we'll tell you what we're doing. Okay, the benefit of the test lead set that we make, we're just going to tap into the red circuit. We could have gone into the pin here. We could tap into it here. We can try to get it into the connector over there. So we're in 12 volts DC. We need to see if there's voltage on this wire. So now you're going to open this and close it. You're basically, the furnace has timed itself out. He's tried to start and he couldn't. So you're going to just break a wire and reconnect it again. And what we're going to do is we're going to watch that meter. I have no voltage. That's why he's not starting. So something's wrong with that cell switch circuit again. Okay, so it's going to time itself out. So the question then becomes, here's where we're going to troubleshoot. Do we have it on the black wire coming in? So here's where we're going to start diagnosing. So the furnace isn't going to start. Now you guys saw the condition of that other cell switch. They're like 20 bucks. So I'm going to put a new cell switch on. I'm not going to reuse the old one. But it never saw the 12 volts on this red wire. Therefore, the furnace didn't start. It's the same symptom. So we're going to go follow the trail. We're going to go upstream, and we're going to see if we can't find the 12 volts now. We're going to basically move it. We're going to move this from the red wire. We're going to go up one step. We're going to grab it on the black wire here, which is coming back from our cell switch. So unscrew that and put that over here. Okay, so Dakota has moved the piercing probe directly into the black lead. And now we're going to give it ground again. Here, give that ground again. Just anywhere on that cage would work. Okay, now, we got 12 volts right there. So therefore it's not so the fact that we have 12 volts tells us that we have a call for heat, but it's not making it through the cell switch. So if you open and close your connector over there, so he's going to be the thermostat. He's opening it, close it again. There's our 12 volts. The furnace is starting. So now we've cornered this thing again to a very stubborn cell switch. It hasn't made it through the new cell switch. So we're going to go look at that again. And we know that it's made it through the high temperature switch. So we know that part's good. And we know that because all we did was we moved this from the black wire. We followed it earlier, coming back from the high temperature switch. And this is a cell switch. We're going to grab at this guy. So this cell switch is still not getting the proof. It's not being closed. Something's wrong there. So we're going to go dig there a little bit deeper. 2, 1. Okay, we have solved the riddle of the cell switch again. Now, this is the original cell switch that we took out of the furnace. And so what Dakota's going to do, I'll hold this up here. What Dakota's going to do is he's going to exercise that cell switch. So trigger it and release it. And so you see how it's doing nothing. Now, do it back and forth and you'll hear a click. There's an audible click that the thing is making, but you'll see there's no continuity coming through the cell switch. So what we're going to do now, the first one we put in was this aftermarket cell switch. So this was more than likely something we've got on Amazon. I know the story of the cell switch. A customer bought a bunch of cell switches and didn't need them, and I just bought them from him. So this is an aftermarket cell switch. It was in a factory sealed box that we got directly from, I'll even show you the box, but this was something we got from Amazon. Now pull here, hold on. Okay, pull the trigger. Okay, now we got beepage, right? Okay, so that part of it's working, and you always want to be careful not to bend that profile. So we have it working, but if I push this down with my calibrated finger, it's got maybe a little bit more spring tension than the official, here's your part number right here, for the official Suburban cell switch, okay? So this one right here is the official. This one came out of this bag. So here we have aftermarket, which is beeping, but when you push this down and you push that down, there's a little bit difference in spring tension. So now we're going to connect this one back up. So take your wires off and connect to this one. Okay, he's going to connect that. I'll hold this up. And so here we have, notice how this one's staying down. Now, if that's fine, that's fine. The spring tension is looser, so it's not oriented like that. It's oriented on its side, okay? And so now it'll spring back out, okay? That's the orientation that it's in. So the moral of the story here, the takeaway, is if you go with an aftermarket, what I have just found here in the field, I didn't think there was going to be a problem, but what I have found is that spring tension is a little bit harder than, so even like now when they're both in this orientation, if I push this down, mine springs back up. And the Suburban one, when you push it down, it stays down. But they're supposed to be oriented on their side, where on the Suburban, it does spring back. Okay, so if you're going to go aftermarket, be advised that I could tell you right now that spring tension is really tight. So now what we're going to do, now that we have troubleshot that, we have proven that the original cell switch, even though it's clicking, there's no continuity through it. So that was the correct call on that one. So now Dakota's going to put this new cell switch back in. We don't need to record that because we already did it, so we'll save everybody, but we just wanted to share with you what our findings were. Dakota will now put all this back together, and then we'll do our bench test again. And I think the takeaway is not to use aftermarket parts. Okay, we'll come back when we do a bench test. Okay, while Dakota is putting that back together, this is the, hold on, this is the Amazon part number. There's your ASIN number. And if you look there, this includes the Suburban, it says it on there, the SF30F. Okay, so it says it's good for this furnace. And if you know Mandarin, there's that. So be advised that if you're going to go with this Amazon part, it may not be the right one, even though on the package it says that it is designed for this furnace. What we demonstrated was it's not. And I had these in my box, and I'm like, okay, new cell switch, let's put that on. But luckily I had the official one, and when we get that all back together, we will do a bench test. But hopefully you get value from staying away from this aftermarket one. Okay, Dakota has, here we go, Dakota has reassembled the cover, put the box all back together, and we are ready for the moment of truth. The only thing we've done is we've diagnosed the cell switch. So he's going to become the thermostat now. We're going to reconnect our blue wires. Furnace is going to start, and we're back to where we were before. Let's see if he's going to start this time. If we wanted to, we could have got our test lead on here, and if he doesn't start, we'll still put our test lead on here to see if we have 12 volts. But you guys saw how we troubleshot that. Oh, we got a click, and we have ignition, and that's putting out some hot air. So that is it, folks. The cell switch is the aftermarket cell switch. Well, first of all, the original cell switch was not working at all, and then we put an aftermarket cell switch on, and that one had too much spring tension, and now we've got the official Suburban cell switch, and it's working just fine. So now, okay, Dakota, open up your thermostat. Your heat has been satisfied. Okay, so now we're good. He's going to go through about a minute and a half cool down because he was running, and since we're out here in the wilderness of Forks, I think we're going to just force the issue. We're just going to take this off, listen for a click. There's our click, and then we can safely reconnect it. So now at this point, we're going to go put the furnace back in for expeditious time. I think Dakota and I will just go ahead and put it in real quick, and then put our exhaust on, and then we'll run it, and then you'll get the benefit of the final test. If there's any other thoughts that come to my brain when we're putting it back in, I'll be sure and let you guys know and record that. Okay, so we have the furnace back in. Scooch over, it's putting out some nice heat for us, and that's why you're standing there, right?
Yeah.
I'm not used to looking up you so tall. There we go. Yes, this is my son. Yes. How'd you get so tall? You can bump your head.
Because you're standing lower.
Oh, I'm on a lower portion of the ground. That's
yeah.
what it is. So folks, we came, and hopefully you saw value as I was working with Dakota, teaching him a little bit on how to diagnose and troubleshoot and also repair. This whole job was done by Dakota. I was just a voice in his ear. And so, what are you, 14?
Yeah.
You'll be 15 in the summertime. Mm-hmm. So you're a couple ways from being a couple months away from being 15. So if a 14 and 3/4-year-old can do it, I think you can do it too. Would you agree with that? Yeah. So Dakota, what is something that you learned from this experience? Let's interview you.
That don't use off-brand stuff.
Oh, that's an excellent point. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay with factory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you enjoy the process of taking it apart and seeing how it works?
Sort of.
Okay. Did you enjoy working in the rain?
What?
Did you enjoy working in the rain?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. How about the sleet? Because it was sleeting.
It was fun. Yeah.
Yes. And then it would be bright and sunny, and then it was the whole thing. But I think the answer, I know the answer, but I mean, you came to a broken furnace, you understand how they work, how to diagnose them, and now it's working. So how does it make you feel?
Good.
If it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Okay, I want you guys to have the same feeling. And happy camper say.
My RV works.
Happy camper say my RV works. So this is Darren and
Dakota
from Forks, Washington. Until the next video, thanks for watching, and we're going to have more information down below in the description. Okay, until the next video. Thank you.